Hello and welcome back for part 2 of our Fortnightly Frontier Fort double feature. Today, we're going to be talking about the stuff. Can we try again?
No. We're talking about systemic power management.
That's the one.
That's the one. A very sexy prototype of which was unveiled and demonstrated by the one and only Dan Truffen from CIG. And as soon as I saw it, I went, this is so Star Trek and I love it.
Yeah. So essentially, I suppose it's kind of the first time we've seen it in any kind of form that isn't just text and, you know, like, you know, quote unquote, imagine, you know. It's the first time we've seen the concept of like the relays and power management and stuff in a flowchart, essentially. But like in engine, I guess you want to call it. Essentially, it was, right?
I think it was just in editor as a sort of flowchart representation of items. It was definitely more of a proof of concept sort of thing.
Yeah.
Very, very simply put together rather than having an actual ship physicalized with all those items. But yes,
right.
We have power plants. We have
batteries,
conduits, and we have batteries, and we have relays, and then we have all the things that use power.
Yeah. So I guess from a top-down perspective, it's like, so every ship has a fuel tank, and every ship has a power plant, and the fuel gets drained to power the power plant. The power plant then charges up the battery, and then the battery then, you know, like powers the relays, and the relays then power all your components. I think this is clarification about how the capacitor that they've been talking about will work. I think capacitor and battery are kind of synonymous, right?
Yeah. Well, the capacitor is a type of battery. Yeah.
So the question,
a capacitor is high yield, low. It can't hold its charge much long.
Right.
That's what I mean. But it can contain a lot of power. That's what a capacitor is.
Because the question that we had before was, in terms of capacitors, how would they affect the ship? Is your entire ship drawing energy from the one capacitor, or are your weapons like drawing from their own capacitors each, or are they all drawing from like a parent capacitor? I suppose we still don't really know, but in the chart that Dan showed, there was only one battery that was getting charged by your power plant.
Are you talking about the simple version or the hammerhead version?
Both.
I thought the big one had more than one battery.
Did it?
But then again, that wasn't a representation of a hammerhead. It was just meant to look like a hammerhead.
It was just a demonstration of what it was, you know, like the general idea. Yeah.
But, you know, it could also be that a power plant powers both the batteries to charge them up and the items at the same time. Yeah. But you would think that the numbers for a power plant's output are going to change. So you can't run your ship at full power all the time, because the power plant you will drain the battery buffer. And when that happens, the power plant won't be able to power everything on your ship at the same time. So you're going to have to start turning things off, unless you get a really good power plant, you know?
So the way the flowchart, the demo worked was that, like, so your power plant can directly power everything else in your ship through the relays, but as it's doing that, like, the excess power is being stored in the batteries. So like if you have, and also, interestingly enough, every relay actually uses power. So if you have every relay open, maybe your battery will not necessarily be able to, you know, like stay charged, because now like there will, you know, there would be that necessary.
Extra drain. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So
it won't matter on a small ship because I'm guessing you'll have one relay that just diverts power to every component.
Quite likely, yeah.
Yeah, but on a huge ship like the Hammerhead, you're going to have several junctions and several relays just because there's so many more things. It's not that a bigger ship has bigger items. It has more items.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to seeing how it plays, just because, you know, with that and the fire system that's really comprehensive, and like depending on the materials, it also changes like what happens to the atmosphere of the room and stuff like that. I think Engineer is going to be a very fulfilling / stressful thing to be.
Yeah. You know, and when you were watching Star Trek, did you ever think, I want to be like Geordi? Or I want to be like Scotty.
Blind? Oh, Scottish?
No, like the guy that swoops in, you know, at the heat of action, and you know, and fixes things, and you know, the ship goes and does things the way it's supposed to, and saves the day, and you know, stuff like that. No, really?
No, because the captain's the one who gets the, you know, the pat on the head, and he goes,
Captain,
and I'd like to extend the congratulations to my engineer. I want to be that person, you know, the guy who goes, do the thing, and then they do the thing, and if they do, then I'll be like, we did it, we. Commendation to the engineer, but we, and I was the yeah, I mean.
Why does that not surprise me?
It's just fun to be the captain on like games like Barodrama and stuff. Like being the orchestrator is, you know, like I have a lot of experience orchestrating things, you know. But at the same time, in MMOs and stuff, I'm always the support character. So being a support character within Star Citizen essentially is the engineer and that kind of stuff. Yeah. So yeah.
So on a big ship, I imagine you're gonna have like the main engineer that will be in charge of this huge system view of the entire ship, and is going to be directing other people, or, you know, directing the computer, shut this relay off because we don't need it. That's going to be also an interesting thing.
Yeah, I'd love to see.
As like relays, they drain power, so you don't want to have them on all the time. But I'm guessing that if you have them on all the time, your ship behaves better.
Oh,
even though, you know, there's routes that power can take, the long way around your ship and still reach every component, it would probably run faster. Or how
degradation would likely be faster, though.
Right? Yeah. Because it's like if you have one relay. You have all the power going through a couple of relays. Those relays work harder and degrade faster than if you have all of them running. But at that point, your power plant has to run harder.
So your power plant would likely need to be tuned up instead, like sooner.
Yeah, and get more degraded and get faster.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it's an interesting trade-off that as a pilot or like engineer on a ship, you'd probably have to like think about. And they also covered configurations that you'd be able to choose for your ship. You mentioned before that like with a ship like a Hammerhead that has loads of relays, you can turn some off. And so I think that it's going to leave a lot of room for like the min-max community to like properly go like, you know, this is the optimal like relay configuration here for a Hammerhead and all that stuff.
Yeah, because already you have metagamers that know which components and which weapons are best for dogfighting and which shields, etc.
Yeah.
But now, you're gonna have not only which relays are better, but what configuration per ship is better for dogfighting, for quantum travel, for atmospheric flight. That's gonna be
I just hope that lights on your ship don't take too much power, like, you know, unrealistic amounts of torchlight power in a survival game, because I'd really hate for the min-max ships to all say, oh yeah, and just, you know, deprioritize lights. Always. And you just like walking through a blind ship the entire time.
Everybody has to have their helmet on with a torch on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They actually, I mean, that's an interesting point, because to be fair, in the future, like your spacesuits will, as a survival element, all have power. So you wouldn't be able to have your torchlight on 24/7.
Yeah, and isn't it like that? Even your suit is gonna have components in it, like -1 size or something like that, or how did I say? Because size 0 is for vehicles, like for the Cyclone and the Ursa,
right?
Or is it just be personal sized?
I mean, it'll likely just, I mean, for the player character and like their suits, I don't necessarily know. I don't think we've necessarily been told. We just know that heavy armor will have battery dockets or whatever to recharge your like
laser guns.
Yeah, maybe medium armor might do too. I mean, this is again I guess an area for why certain kinds of gear would be good for certain like situations. You know, like maybe your Max Ox light armor chest might not Max Ox, sorry, Mac Flex light armor might be able to, but like your Venture might not, for instance. But your Venture might have like a higher radiation like protection or something. Yeah, that'd be cool.
The only thing that was added now has been temperature resistance. You got armor, which again, without proper penetration values, is just a placeholder. But temperature is the only actual like a true value that we have with armor right now, I'd say.
But then, so I guess another thing that they mentioned was, again, just like priorities of like your components. So I mentioned before was lights being an example. But it'd be very interesting if they allowed the player to choose exactly what is high priority and what is not. Because like you could, and I hope for the future that they change how power draw and stuff for quantum drive works, so that quantum drive actually requires a lot of power. So like you can't just spool up the quantum drive doing combat and stuff, and it's something you have to like because
and just escape.
Yeah, because then you can do something like put your gravity generator on your ships really, really low in the priority. And then so whenever you have to fire your quantum drive, everybody goes...
and then smacks into the back of the ship because they don't have the gravity generator to act as an inertial dampener.
In quantum travel, you're not actually moving. Space is moving around you.
I know.
Yeah. But...
Yeah, with this engineering concept... And with, you know, quantum drive, Star Citizen is getting very, like tech-wise, very similar to Star Trek.
Yeah, and with this person here as Imperator, there'll be, I suppose, more like Star Trek-y leaning themes. Even though they won't necessarily change the actual like story of the game or whatever. I mean, like it'll be interesting to see exactly what happens with Addison being the most...
Imperator-elect.
Yeah, she's the most, yes, Imperator-elect, because they'll likely assassinate her next week, just you wait. But like, but yeah, the most, Federation-y...
cost again!
He's like, we will find the people who did this, and I am just the Imperator-elect to do it. And then he gets sniped, and the next week it's going to be the other person's time until, you know, like, the Telos Costigan comes back, and he's like, well, I guess it's 10 more years of me. Just you wait.
Where were we?
We were talking about power. We were talking about like power, like hierarchy and stuff. And
yeah. Like this already, you know, exists. This sort of power hierarchy in real life. Like if you have a particularly modern car, and for some reason, if your alternator goes. And all your peripherals have to start running on battery power. As your voltage starts dropping, different things are going to start turning off, like interior lights, the radio, the air conditioning, and then the dashboard. And I think the your exterior lights are the last thing to go, just because of safety issues.
Right. So yeah.
But yeah, it would be interesting if we could set that.
Priority.
Set that a priority, yeah, because, you know, I have that Carrick hollow sphere thing that, you know, that has to be on at all times.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what happens, that has to be on at all times.
Okay. Because? It's your nightlight.
Just because it's because of my nightlight, yeah.
But yeah, there is so much with this system that I suppose until we actually finally see it, all we can do really is just say, wouldn't it be cool if, wouldn't it be cool if? I think my biggest wouldn't it be cool if with this system is that it is in such a place where, let's say that you're flying an 85X, for instance, it has 2 seats. It, in the lore, was supposed to be the M50. You know, like they were like basically in competition to be Origin's kind of like premier race ship. The M50 won over the 85X, even though it flies like garbage now, should be more like between the M50 and the 350R. It'd be cool if in the future, as a performance racer, you would be able to, you know, like fly around, you know, low flying or whatever, like, you know, doing really cool laps and stuff. But if you had a kick-ass engineer, you'd be able to, you know, do things better and faster at a high efficiency and shave off, you know, like seconds of your time on a racetrack in the 85X.
Yeah.
I think that'd be really sweet.
Thruster upgrades are going to be also a thing. Like the 85, the M50 is the first confirmed ship where they actually have modeled 2 different shapes, if not performance tiers of rear thrusters. They
might be performance-y. We don't know. I mean, essentially, for those that don't know, it's the M50 as we know it. You know, it came out before the current style guide of Origin ships. So CIG's like ship developers, they basically constructed the M50 during that rework time this year. They constructed it with the old style engines and working perfectly within the game, and also the new style engines that you can find in, say, things like, thrusters, like you can see in the 100 series. And then Chris was like, I like the old stuff. And then they're like, well, we have this stuff. And so because we have, is it Cousin Crow's like customization yard or something, they're like, well, probably one of the first thruster sets you can buy in the game. It'd be cool if they actually do like change some aspects of flight. But yeah.
Like not just power like maximum thrust they have, but, you know, an adjusted curve. Like more jerk, less jerk.
To properly tune your ship to the way, yeah, it'd be nice. It'd be really nice. And
or even fuel efficiency, you know? Maybe you could get a thruster that has like let's say 75% power of the stock ones, but only uses 50% of fuel.
Okay.
You know, but they cost much more.
So going back to the engineers, I would say that with this being an MMO and a multiplayer game, and with multiplayer games being inherently competitive, I would like for there to be a way to quantify how good an engineer is somehow, right? How do you know a good engineer from like a kick-ass engineer, right? That unless you can formulate some kind of test that only a kick-ass engineer will stop a ship from going critical or something like that. You know what I mean? Because like in games like World of Warcraft, it's easy because you have damage calculators, you know, for your tanks, your healers, and your damage people. But in Star Citizen, it's like, well, I'm a good engineer, I promise. And then you blow up and it's like, well, it wasn't my fault. Jimmy over there was flying bad. You know, like there's no way of quantifying it.
Yeah.
So maybe somebody could devise something in the future. Again, like
much smarter than me, because I have absolutely no idea how that could happen.
So, as a player, if it was possible, I would think that somebody would create some sort of like exam scenario, like a Kobayashi Maru, but for engineers. You know.
Yeah, then you have to tune a ship just right to get from to succeed in one scenario, get to another one, and then succeed in the other scenario and still have enough fuel, for instance, at the end.
Yeah, because you know damn sure that like all these competitive orgs and stuff are going to have like similar things for pilots in general to see if they're good at maneuvering and that kind of stuff. But Otherwise, essentially, what you're gonna have is a whole bunch of casuals or like lucky people in in your top tier guilds, because they'll be really. I mean, like I'm not an elitist myself, but I'm just thinking about like these bigger orgs. They think this way. So how will they hypothetically like cut the wheat from the chaff without having to suffer so many losses?
Yeah.
Yeah. You can't think of anything?
Yeah.
You gotta give it.
It's going to be very involved.
Yeah, like again, without
do you think it's going to be something that CIG is going to provide, or is this something these organizations are going to have to organize themselves? Like in your ops, for instance, like okay, we have this hammerhead and it has 44% of fuel, and we have to get to this battle at this time and still win. Your task, engineer, is to tune up the ship so this happens.
Right. I mean, I think that if CIG doesn't come up with a way initially, the community will. Because like in most video games that have even like a shred of modularity, and even in the ones that don't, the community will always create the things that they need. Look at us right now with calculators like Cool and stuff, which should be in the game dead to rights as things like, like a Whitley's Guide and stuff, but is not. I guess waiting on building blocks for it and stuff. But like, there are things in the game. I mean, in World of Warcraft, for instance, damage calculators weren't a thing until like somebody made one, and then like now I don't even know if it's a thing. Yeah, like I don't think it's an actual like part and parcel thing of the game. Like it's still a mod you have to get for damage calculators and stuff. But I'm pretty sure that that community will find a way. Because there has to be a way. Otherwise, it's a whole part of the game that you're not min-maxing, essentially, and you're not getting the best you can possibly get. And if you are a competitive player and you're not getting the best you can possibly get because the game doesn't allow you, you're not going to be invested in that game for long. This is the way.
But on the other hand, is this, going too meta? Would it be too immersion breaking for some people if it was so, if they were able to break it down into a science and then see exactly who's the best, instead of
For hardcore players, meta is the game. They don't care about story. They don't care about anything. The best players in most MMOs, all they care about is the science and the numbers and the being the best. They don't necessarily care about like anything else. Just the fact that they're the best. That's the joy they get out of the game. So for you,
I don't want to be the best.
Yeah, I mean, for you and me, first of all, it's too much hassle, and also would likely just don't have the skill in the first place. But
true, very true.
It's a mentality that some people have, and that's how they become who they are. For anything. But I wonder. There's so much depth here with what they have that it makes you imagine just how far people will go. I mean, like already we have databases upon databases of alpha like information. Some people know the HP pools of every ship, and they can tell you exactly how much alpha damage is required to take down an 890 jump. It's like 1 million and something compared to like a Gladius's 10,000 or something. But like, so there are people out there like that, right? So if there are people out there like that for dogfighting in general, I'm looking forward to seeing exactly how it is like for engineering and just how much of it I can follow, because I'd like to try, but I likely won't be any good.
No.
Which is why I want to be a captain.
That was a very long answer to a question I asked about 15 minutes ago.
Right?
Well, I do kind of want to be an engineer, though.
I think it will be fun, and I think that even if you're not part of like
in a non-competitive environment,
exactly, I think that you'll have a lot of fun doing it, and there'll be a lot of content for you to do in the game that won't require you to be sweating every single power calculation. It'd be very interesting if this game has like hard mode content that's PvE, and requires you to be as sweaty as, let's say, what one might imagine a PvP engineer to be in this game. But yeah, it's like right now, because of everything that we've had in the past couple weeks, my like horizon for like where the game could possibly be is like where it almost was back in 2015. So I'm like in kind of like a honeymoony kind of phase right now. So I'm kind of like what's the word? I should probably not talk so much.
And all it takes was like a 25-minute video from CR and a 15-minute video from Dan Truffen, and it's like, oh boy, here we go again.
Here I go dreaming again. Hope my heart doesn't shatter again. But yeah, like we'll see. We'll see. All right. Does that cover the topic?
I'd say so. I mean,
Awesome.
it's a very interesting topic. It's very interesting to see how they're going to implement it in the game. From a physical point of view. I mean, like all the pipes that are gonna have to be in the game. It's gonna be. Will they be physicalized? Will they be able to take damage? Will you be able to, sever them or crimp them?
Oh, that's a point that we didn't cover. I feel bad that we didn't, so I think I'll bring it up.
Time.
Sabotage is something that was brought up by Dan Truffen. So obviously they have ideas for sabotage in the game. They've brought up a design document all about E-War, and that was all part of all that. Makes you think, how will an E-War technician on another ship visualize this stuff? The way he mentions sabotage, like obviously, as an engineer, these relays will be physical points that you can go ahead and repair, right? And as like a spy on, like, say, a big organization ship, you could be that guy who severs the connection of a relay during like a really what should be like a dull moment, and then sever the ship in half, the way Dan showed off in the thing.
Oh yeah, that was yeah.
So
sentence.
Yeah. So like espionage that way and sabotage that way is cool, but I also think it'd be cool if like an attacking ship was able to like send a data spike or something to another capital ship, get a map of their power relays, and then go, yes, of course, this is a Nautilus. I know exactly which relay to shut, and then do that as well. Like and then there'd be like counter hack play and stuff to do with that as well. That'd be kind of cool.
Unless, can you imagine, like, this probably won't be something that you could upgrade, but imagine a ship that has several, like, sections of the ship that can run individually. Like, they all have their own power generation.
It would not surprise me if there would be certain ships that have redundancy in where those things are placed. In most ships we have at the moment, there isn't really much of that. The only ship that kind of has redundancy like that is the Vanguard, which is built to be redundant. It has power plants on either side, so if if the ship is sliced in half, it'll still be able to go, provided you're going in a straight line, because the maneuvering thrusters are on that side, and so you start flipping around. And yeah, but so Carden says in chat there, so at what point does the realism become too much for, say, a solo player?
Solo ships are not. Yeah, solo ships are not gonna have as much complexity as that. Single seater ships are gonna have at most gonna have a single relay that will connect all the components. Just because they have, like I said before, they don't have that many of the same component.
Yeah.
To power.
Yeah. So essentially, like, in a Gladius, you won't necessarily have to worry about anything apart from how much fuel you have and maybe the damage status of your components. Everything else is kind of like what exactly we have right now. If you move up to, like, let's say a Reliant ship, then all that happens is that as you're flying, you can get out of your seat and fix a relay. Maybe in a Reliant, there might be 2 relays or something, one to your weapons and one to like your science barrier components and stuff, and you can have that relay turned off if you're not using the microscope or if you're not using whatever else is in the back of that ship. And then, as Darj says, the bigger the ship gets, then now the more modular things get. Maybe in a freelancer, for instance, there might be several relays for like the 3 section of the ship. You know, maybe the back might have a fridge to keep like, you know, food cold or whatever. The middle section, you know, like might have the lights. The next section might have like, you know, like a life support and stuff. But then that's why a freelancer has 4 chairs in it, you know, because it's not a single person ship.
Nope. And people are going to start realizing that soloing huge ships is a big mistake. And blades are a thing, but blades have limitations. Blades can help you turn turrets into point defense systems. And what else could they help with?
So Todd Pappy like wrote a whole list of what server blades could do on a ship.
They can't replace or repair components though. So for that, you're gonna either need to have friends along with you, or you know the thing that most solo players want is, you know, NPC crew for hire. Yeah.
And that'll also be very interesting because, like, with the archetype, they call it the archetype system or something, like the an NPC being spawned has all these traits, like, you know, like from like how risk-taking they are, how happy they can be, their like alignments, all that stuff. NPCs will be very, very varied. So
varied.
Yeah, very, very varied. So it'll be very interesting to see how employing one will happen. You go to a place and there's a list and you have to like choose from all these different NPCs that have like, you know, different traits they may or may not want.
But I doubt it, you know, every NPC chart is going to have not sliders, but, you know, like graphs. This good in engineering, this good
Why
in shooting.
not? Maybe perhaps like it's a standard. I mean, like let's turn what will be a game thing into a lore thing and say that, let's say that the UEE has a standardization like test that people take, and then it grades you, so a captain can just like eyeball through your CV.
But the players are gonna have to get tested like that as well. So until that happens,
that is true. But who knows how so like, of course, it's all set in stone for the NPCs.
You ask like how are you gonna tell who is a good engineer and who isn't? You know, that's gonna be one of those tests.
Yeah, we don't know for players, but for NPCs, it'll be much easier, I imagine.
But again, the metrics that they use to evaluate how good an NPC is at, let's say, rerouting past a damage relay or optimizing a grid to use as little fuel as possible, those could be the same metrics applied to people in a test.
I think it'd be much harder for people in general, but I get your point, you know, like, but we don't necessarily know for people, but for NPCs, it could literally just be 3 out of 5 stars, and then, like, that would determine how fast they go about doing these things. But yeah. Anyway.
Still want to go with my Karakan and a bunch of NPCs. Just, you know, I want to do a lot of things. I want to be the captain of my Karakan and an engineer, so how's that going to work?
You're, good luck. I mean, it wouldn't put it past me, you know, put the game, sorry, words all of a sudden escape brain, but like, I wouldn't put it past the game if you were able to like employ somebody as your helmsman and then be the engineer or whatever, like, for there to be some sort of flexibility in that. But
but you know, there's, you know, being on the bridge where the view is, and then there's being in engineering where the darkness is.
That's true, but some people embrace the darkness, you know, like just
true,
doing calibration shepherd, you know, like all that stuff, you know. So anyway, so are you closing off this one, or am I closing off this one?
I think I'm closing on this one because you closed off the previous one, and
did I? Okay.
Yeah, you did.
It's in the past now.
It is, yes. Stop clinging on to it. It's not good. Anyway, thank you for watching. I have been Darjanator. This has been Fortnightly Frontier. And what did you do, Myre?
We'll see you next time, guys.